What's going on, guys? Figured I'd shoot this video just to kind of show a little bit more of the backstory for 8-Ball and just explain a little bit more of that hunt. I have to say I am not a professional by any means when it comes to self-filming or even the editing part, so bear with me. I hope it comes out good, but I just wanted to shoot this video and just kind of explain a little bit more about, how the hunt unfolded and, up until that moment. It kind of started with just doing all the food plots and stuff this year. I've done a lot of habitat on the farm. Had pleasure of working with Jim Ward over the many years of doing all the habitat up here, and we have certainly taken the property from bare ground to well over my head, and it's paid off. It's basically bringing all that food that's up in the air down to that ground and allowing the deer to better reach it and getting sunlight down to the floor and really promoting a good amount of regen and just giving those deer what they want. And it really starts with just the habitat side of things, not so much the hunt. So starting out this summer with just had a busy schedule and getting these food plots to really coming out and coming into a very dry summer. I must have probably seeded these plots 3 times or maybe even 4 on the one that I hunted 8-Ball out of and shot him there. So it was just it was really troubling trying to get these plots to grow. I had probably 3 to 3.5 foot of growth from last year's winter wheat, and I brush hogged all of that, thinking it would just create a lot of thatch to let that seed head pop and overseed it, and it kind of worked out the other way. Once those turkeys knew that seed was there, they were scratching everything up, and you can kind of see, like in that alcove that I'm in, where most of the deer that kind of filter into that food plot will eventually come into that cove, because there's kind of like an inside corner on both sides, and there's out at like 35 yards there's a north and south travel corridor that pops out of another corner, like somewhat in there, that travels behind the pond, and those deer will use that a lot. So it's not uncommon that when they filter in, they'll filter through there and kind of work the swirl in and swirl out. But it was just super hard to get anything to grow in there. It was like concrete. And again, I should have used my RTP drill, but I didn't. I took the lazy route thinking we'd get some rain, and that never came, and really came to bite me. So all that straw from the winter wheat was just be in mounds with all of the brush hogging and stuff. It would get attached to the brush hog, and when you turn in that cove, it would just let mounds of it. So I try to spread it out the best I can by hand and then seed in there with the new winter wheat, and it worked, but not to the extent that you really wanted to. Those turkeys just, once they knew it was there, they were in there twice a day, and there would be 20-25 birds in there scratching everything up. And as it started to grow, I kind of went in there and overseed, and it started to take, and it got really green, and my winter bulbs and sugar beets didn't do anything. So it was a troubling summer for plots, but I think we did the best we can with what we were given. But the habitat side of it, we probably have about 90 to 95% of my timber is all hinge cut, between depth of cover and screening and soft edge and just designated bedding areas, travel corridors, converging hubs where they transition from one bedding to another and kind of hub them right there, and then they kind of come through that screening and come around it and get behind there. We have buck sneak trails. We have so much stuff in there, and the way these deer have to drop into them and pass through, it just it's really amazing to see that habitat come into fruition over the years. So where he ended up expiring, it ended up being 5 or 6 foot tall. It was over my head, and he was just in a really tough spot to get out of there. So the post-hunt video stuff, I kind of handed the camera over to fiance, and she, tried to get some B-roll, but it we were losing light and there wasn't a lot of footage to work with. So hopefully we have enough footage to kind of show this hunt. It was a great hunt. We knew what he was doing. We knew where he was bedding. I kind of put him to bed that morning around 7 a.m. And I just had the feeling he was in one of our designated bedding areas, kind of close to that plot, and it ended up working out perfect. So back to like just some of the backstory with him. I ended up passing him quite a few times, like 10 times or so in bow season and gun season last year in 2024. And I ended up shooting my target buck that I was after. We called him Sneaks because he would just sneak around, and he, for some reason, just couldn't put it together. And I went in there specifically for that buck a few times, and I only try to drop in there when I know I'm going to get on my target buck, and I kind of have him dialed in. So I'm not one of those guys anymore that likes to sit in a stand all day long and just hope for something to pass by, and that's my deer. I kind of know what they're doing. I know where historically over the years I've paid attention to where these mature bucks will bed, what winds will put them there, and I pay attention to that data and write it down and remember it and save photos and tag my photos in my folders to just kind of get a good understanding of the progression over time and over the years. So having said that, it's been a little bit easier to put that data together, put these hunts together, and in the last 4 years, been very, very fortunate to harvest 3 really good buck. But again, with every positive story and every success story, what people don't see is all the trials and tribulations, the adversities to get there. I mean, I have cut my teeth on trying to harvest these bucks and get them when they get to a certain age. And you know, I've been on, in the state of New York, I've been on a lot of big deer, 150-inch deer plus, more times than I can remember, and I have goofed them up. I haven't. It took me a while to learn how to get drawn back, get ready for them to come in. It was easy for me to kind of figure out what they're doing and hone down certain spots of just all different types of land, reading those topos, understanding where they're going to bed, what winds are going to put them there. And once you understand that data, it becomes a lot more predictable. Your hunts don't always seem like they're just by chance. And that's what I've really tried to learn, especially in my career, probably since like 2010 or 2011. And it just started paying off in the last, 5 years, 6 years. So, it takes time. Some guys are more fortunate or have better land or learn more quickly than others. And it just took me a little bit to get there. But now that I'm here and I understand it, it's just a lot easier to read that information and better put myself on the deer that I want and not just any deer. If I see a deer show up on trail camera, I have a pretty good chance of getting on that deer if I wait and I'm patient. I know exactly what he's doing, or I know what wind. Even if I don't need to read my trail camera pictures to really get that data. I just know, okay, here's the winds that we've been having. Here's a cold temp coming in, or, just all that stuff. If you pay attention to it, it really could put you onto something really, really good and not happen by fluke or chance. So It's October 3rd, and man, I've never hunted on a day this hot. I usually stay out of the woods. Like I said in my last interview, I only come in here when I know I'm gonna kill something. And it's usually just one target buck. That's usually all I'm after the last 5 years. And as hot as it is, I still feel like this deer I'm after, called 8-ball, which is an 8-point pushing 150 inches. That's a big 8-point no matter where you are, I feel anyway, especially for the state of New York, where I'm at. And I feel like this is the night for him to show up. And he's usually showing up like between 5:30 or so on his food plot, literally right here. So he showed up on my neighbor the last 2 nights. My neighbor was in the stand last night and couldn't get a shot. He was 60 yards and he just stayed out that distance and didn't present anything for him. So I just feel he is close to this food plot at about probably close to, was it like 6:30 or 7 o'clock this morning. He was headed towards this food plot but never came out into it. He was headed towards this plot this morning. So I feel like he transitioned out of his bed, hit my neighbor's food plot this morning, and then he transitioned close to this plot, and I feel like he's holding up pretty tight here. So, fingers crossed, tonight's the night. I can't tell you, like, I normally don't do this. I normally stay out of the woods, especially when it's this warm. But I just feel like 3rd time's a charm. He's got to do what he's been doing the past, like, 2 weeks. And I feel like this plot it's time to shine, so we'll see what happens. I'm sitting over a 2-acre food plot of winter wheat with a little bit of winter bulb and sugar beets that just didn't do anything. It's been so dry, and stupid me, I didn't use my drill this year, which I should have. So we'll see how this goes. I'd say we'll probably be quiet here for the next hour and we should be into them. So fingers crossed. It's 8-ball's time tonight. I'm excited. Hang tight, guys. he took off to the next county. I think he went down and crashed over there. Oh, he got to about, he kind of looped around. He got to about 50 yards and I just saw it pouring out of him. I think I know where he went down. That deer is all of mid 140s to upper 140s as an 8-point. Oh God. This has just been an incredible year. I got engaged 2 months ago. I launched my new company, SkyyTask, which is an app that connects clients and businesses with drone pilots. Licensed drone pilots all around the country, soon to be all around the world. From deer recoveries to renewable energy to real estate. It has been such a process and a learning curve, and I still try to pour my time and energy into this sport. He gave me a 22-yard shot right there, and I think I drilled him. Oh my God. Oh my God. Chemung County, New York. I think that's the second biggest bow buck I've shot. I shot a 150, and I'm pretty sure he's pushing it. Watching him come in here for the last 15 minutes has been something. Oh my God, I think he went down right over there. He booked it, but there was blood spewing everywhere. Oh my God. Thank you, God. I love this sport. I live for this sport. And I work so hard at this sport. The amount of habitat I have poured into this place to make it what it is and to grow these bucks to see birthdays. I let that deer go last year at least 12 times. And he was about 132, 133 inch 8-point. And he just blew this year. I gotta call the fiance and the guys. It's time to celebrate. Thank you. Got him, he's right here. Woo. So dark. Babe, I'm gonna have to come in with the tractor.
You did it!
Getting them out of there. That habitat work is like almost over my head. He's huge.
Yeah, he is. Holy crap. He's eating good.
He's been eating good as right. He's been in that green pot. But yeah, the habitat side of it is something that really drives me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't know what side of this sport I love more, and if I was to actually be asked that question, I'd probably lean towards the habitat side. The hunting side is phenomenal. It's great. It's a reward. I love spending that time in a stand because it's just where my mental peace comes from, and it's where I can actually decide things in life and business and, you know, new ideas, and it just, there's a lot that comes from it. But the habitat side it's putting in that energy, putting in that time, and actually seeing the products come into fruition. You know, that's the best part for me, is putting in that time and energy, planning. It's not so much just the food plots. That's a small percentage of the habitat side. It's a lot to do with cutting your trees, how you're falling them, where you're falling them, creating those bedding pockets, and creating that depth and separation in those bedding areas. You know, it's not just about falling a tree and okay, there it goes. And it's not that. It's a lot of planning. It's you know, and we personally here anyway in New York, with talking to Jim Ward, getting to see how, you know, using his expertise and seeing what works for him in Indiana, because what works for him in Indiana may not necessarily work here in New York. I know for one thing that was a little different was the trail width. The trail width there, he gets a little tighter. Here we had to go a little bit wider, and those deer felt more comfortable once those trails were wide enough. Then once they kind of figure out how to navigate that property, then it just becomes repetition. They just understand it. It's how they move and flow through the property. It becomes more predictable, and there really is a trial and error to this process. But that's what I love about it. I love the challenge. I love the adversities. I love figuring out what's going to work. Okay, we did this. We can change this. We can make it better. Everything in life always has a way to improve, right? Even us as hunters. And that's certainly a test to this sport and who we are as hunters in it. And I wanted to wait for, you know, my family, my friends to come up here and enjoy it, right? Because that, to me, is what this is about. It's not just about, you know, shooting a big deer. It's about sharing it with others. I feel like that's the whole connection of life, right? We're all connected in some weird way we don't totally understand. So having that with my neighbors, the neighbors that are on board and in my co-op, and we do share all our trail camera pictures, we share all our intel, all our data, you know, that makes this whole wheel spin.